who's here, who's arriving, or who's watching this later. My name is Christian. I do stop motion animation, and right now I'm working on a huge feature film called The Hunger of Slag, and a part of that involves giant stop motion monsters. So I've created this basic kind of skeleton, and I need now to create some kind of skin textures for it. I have, let's see, we'll see how this all goes. This is kind of new territory for me, but I've had some handy YouTube tutorials. I've started on the head. You can kind of see this is going to be the head of the thing, but I need like latex skin to put around these tendril things. And I did just wash this one with soap and water to try to get some of that plaster dust off. So we'll see if how well that worked shortly. It's still drying out. I also need lots of stuff to do, actually. But I've got some warmed up monster clay here. So I'm just going to try to create some, like a basic skin texture mold. And I think I want the skin texture to be kind of similar to what you see here. Lots of, kind of veiny. I think that would be cool. Maybe a little bulbous. So we'll just see how that goes. Let me just make an adjustment here. Hey VR Crazy, big fan. That's great. Thanks for hopping in on the live stream. And thanks for watching, as always. Okay. So you guys are probably going to watch me burn myself at some point here, because this stuff is pretty hot. But with this clay, it really holds. Once it cools, it gets really quite hard. So you got to work with it while it's hot. Oh, and I should probably, say that I'm going to be on Instagram, or put this on my story. How can I do that? All right, I might deactivate my camera here for a second, but I will be right back. For anybody who's interested, I just posted a new video yesterday about my creative process, and I would highly recommend, if you're into that kind of thing, check it out, see what you think. Okay, type live. Well, maybe this won't be as easy as I thought it would be. What's the scale of this gonna be like? Make a monster that looks more like a velociraptor. Are you the dinosaur guy? There's somebody in the Discord who's like really big on dinosaurs and wants like slag dinosaurs. I wonder if that's you, Maverick. It's a fun idea, but I just don't know if it's gonna fit in this particular project. Like an iPad-size monster or Battlefield Leviathan. So this is going to be one of the first really big. How do I say this? So if you want to nerd out about it for a second, there are several different classes of size. Leviathan is the biggest, and that's just like ridiculous. But this is not going to be that big. There's also Mammoth, and in Gray Horizons you had those Mammoth clods that were kind of in the distance. They were the main thing that the gang was fighting. or the soldiers on the battlefield were fighting. But then there's maybe standard, which is like this smaller, but then there's also giant. And so this is going to be a giant runner. And Smoke, I don't know if you saw it right away, but let's see, for reference. I mean, I'm here for reference, but this is pretty, actually, of course, the best reference would be a minifig. So, you know, here's a minifigure and here's the runner. So it's pretty huge. You know, it's going to tower over the people, so it should be fun. Flash of light appeared because I'm thinking it's time travel. Main characters. Maverick, I don't think you've seen the second season, have you? Because with that flash of light, they do go back to the Middle Ages. And there's a whole season about that. There's like 9 episodes of them fighting zombies in the Middle Ages. So you can find that on my channel. Just look up the Lego Zombie Apocalypse 2. I might have to write full movie as well. A whole bunch of stuff happens. I ain't in your Discord, but I might want to chat with this dino guy. You know, I just can't remember exactly who it was, but there was somebody who was, they had this like hardcore obsession with like incorporating dinosaurs into the Twisted Bricks universe, and it was really, I admired his passion. There are just some dinosaur people out there. Discord yet. Oh yeah, planetary class. Oh, meant at the end of the second season. I see. Yeah, I don't think I want to explain quite yet what happened there. But something significant happened. It wasn't time travel though, I can tell you that. So you can check that off the list. Planetary class, yeah, I'm trying to remember, with the different types of slag, there were different threat levels, and one of those threat levels is planetary class. If you go to twistedbricks.com, there's a whole page on that website called Slagology 101, and you can learn all about kind of the science of slag and the biology of it. Alright, so right now I'm creating a base layer for the skin. And again, what I'm going to be doing is creating a mold for the skin, so that I can like use liquid latex and pour it into the mold to create thin layers of skin over and over again, basically, because I'm going to need a lot of it. And I want to make it too big instead of too small, because if it's big enough, then I can just make these like large sheets of skin basically, and then just cut out the sections that I need, which will serve me greatly. Infecting dinosaur fossils. I don't think he said anything about that. If anybody here who's also in the Discord knows anything about this dinosaur guy, let us know his username. Was the hive mind on Krozox a planetary class infestation? So this is like an interesting question, because in the first season they go to a planet called Krozox from the Exon ship, but I have kind of retconned that for lots of reasons, and so the kind of the retcon is that they didn't actually go to a different planet. They were just in orbit over Earth, and they went back down on Earth to a place where the brain was supposed to be. And it's at that, like, it's kind of a desert location. And it's at that desert location that Slade gets found in an archaeological dig 1,000 years later. So it's a good question, but hopefully that's not a disappointing answer. I'm not, nobody likes to retcon stuff, but I think for the lore, it kind of was almost necessary. All right. Well, if you just are getting here, welcome. This is a stop motion puppet making stream. What we're doing right now is we're making a skin to wrap around like the legs and all the different parts of these guys. There's going to be all sorts of different types of monsters. I've just created the skeleton for the first one because I'm kind of learning as I go. But there's going to be like flying slag. The monsters are called slag. Flying slag, floating slag, slag with lots of tentacles. That'll be interesting. And in fact, just saying that makes me think I should make this even longer so we can get some nice long strips of skin. And I've learned so much of this puppet making stuff from a YouTuber called Blue Worm, B-L-U Worm. I think he's a Swedish stop motion animator, and he really knows his stuff. And if I remember, I'll link his channel in the description here. But he has awesome, like, monster taste. I really appreciate what he does. And the tutorials he's put out there for free are just fantastic. Alright, I think we're getting close to being able to actually make the skin here. Let's see. How is the Krozok Slag surviving and working without the brain? Also, does Keo remember his life as Kevin? Because if Keo and Slade meet each other, I think Slade might say, Kevin, how? It's a great question. So one thing to know about Keo, and I guess maybe this is lore or insider info that people who participate in the live streams can get. I mean, Keo, at this point, I'm sure, there's all these conversations now about, like, artificial superintelligence. And Keo / Kevin basically has become an artificial superintelligence, but on a sort of spiritual scale, because he is also imbued with, let's say, human soul. And so he's really a kind of a unique thing, a very unique, incredibly calculating and powerful being who also has spiritual capabilities that regular machines and computers technology would not. So he's kind of a unique thing in that sense. What was the question? Oh yeah, so he does have tremendous memory, and you could even argue he remembers everything, but also his brain, his thought processes they're probably hard for us to conceive of because it's an artificial superintelligence, like quantum computing level stuff. That's the only reason why humanity survived, was because they had a spiritual quantum computer fighting on their side. Oh, and let's see, not a disappointing answer. That's nice to hear, Smoke. I thought the X-Men themselves were the only thing you considered retconning. No, there were a few other things in the universe that we considered retconning. But hey, don't stop motions. What else? Oh yeah. So the brain. So here's a little headcanon that I'm working on. I'm thinking that the brain that was destroyed in season 1 wasn't so much like a native Slag thing, but it was the Exon's way of controlling Slag. It was like the Exon's interface with Slag in that system. which is why when they destroy the brain, the Exen lose their minds. Like, they become like animals because they were connected to it. And so that was that was not good for the Exen. I had a dream recently that I was in the Void War universe at the beginning of the apocalypse. I was a stupid person, so Slag left me alive in my house, but there was a Slag named Bird. Huh. That's really cool that you had a dream about the Void War. I actually am sometimes surprised about how I almost never have dreams about the Void War. Like, this whole universe is kind of like my dream, but I don't dream about it at night. And it's like very interesting to me. Like, the few times it happens, I'm like, yes, finally. Infinite games but no bacon, or infinite bacon but no games. Are we talking video games? I'm gonna need some specification here. Like, does that include board games and like icebreakers, social games, sports games? Did you base the Archangels off Space Marines? Yeah, definitely. There's just no getting around that one. A lot of aspects of the Void War are inspired by aspects of Warhammer 40,000, and I try to do it in a way that doesn't like outright copy Warhammer 40,000, but it's a really fun universe. Okay, I think I've got a pretty good thing of skin here. So now it's time to add some textures. Roll up some little snakes for tubes. Oh, I was gonna show you guys. So right now I'm making a mold for like skin, you know, where I can like pour liquid latex on this and create thin sheets of skin. But I initially tried 3D printing skin mold, and you know, I probably could have gotten farther with it, but it's just it was too cumbersome. Like the print, you know, took a lot of resin to make it, and then it kind of goofed. And then I would have had to like redesign it, try to make it print better, and I think this is just a better way and easier to make adjustments. But it was a cool experiment. It's fun to try. Don't Stop Motion, you love the series. Thank you. I really appreciate that. You know, it's one of those things where like I know people must like it because they've said it in the past, and you know, some of the videos get a lot of views, but just to hear people express that they really like the show means a lot. That there's a real person out there who likes it so much that they want to say something about it. It's really nice. It's the thing you're making a runner. Yeah. I wonder if I can like show this more. Like, yeah. So it'll have this giant head and a couple of tentacles kind of like on the sides. And then it's got some neat feet. And it's made with wire, but also there's clay attached to it as well for like more of the meaty parts. And that I just used an air drying clay for. Okay, I gotta make that a little bit thinner. And if you guys have any creative projects you're working on, any art or film or writing projects, this is a supportive space. Okay, that's probably good enough. We'll just see how that turns out. Anyone remember the time of Hero Factory? I missed that series. You know, I kind of slept on Hero Factory. I was such a Bionicle fanboy that when Hero Factory came out, I was just like, I just thought of it as a Bionicle knockoff. And, you know, I actually think, in hindsight, Hero Factory looks pretty cool. Kind of like The Hobbit. You know, when the Hobbit movies came out, I was so disappointed because I was expecting Lord of the Rings. And I wanted Lord of the Rings. But the Hobbit movies were a little bit different in their style. And I just watched The Hobbit again last night, and it's actually really good. Or a few nights ago. It's a really fun movie. So, it's funny how your opinion on things can change with a little more perspective. So I have Infinite Bacon and Doom 3. Oh my god, all video games but Doom 3? That's kind of a hack, isn't it? I don't think you can just give the exception of your favorite video game. When you say Doom 3, is that the medieval one that just came out? Or is it like an older one? I've played Doom 2016 and then the Doom Eternal, but not the latest one, which looks amazing. I love the Doom games I've played, I gotta say. Infinite Bacon and Doom 3 does sound like a pretty good deal. I think I'm gonna, part of me wants to quit playing video games altogether. I don't think they're good for me. And I don't play a ton, but I think I would probably be my psyche would be better, would be healthier if I didn't play video games. Not that there's anything wrong with playing video games, but I think having infinite food over infinite entertainment would probably prove a little more useful. Although if you have infinite bacon, I wonder how that's going to impact your health over time. Alright, trying to make this snake a little bit thinner here. Doom 3 is really bad one from the 2000s. Why Doom 3 then? Well, I don't understand. Do you like it? Is it your favorite game? I mean, you called it really bad. The story is hella mid. So maybe this is just... Well, it's a fun question. I will grant you that. I predict a conversation between Slade and Kevin Keogh. How did all this happen? I'm a god because of Slag. Yeah, we'll see. Lloyd Morissette, you're working on a film. Was that the... You were working on a space film, right? If I'm not mistaken. Graphics are 4 out of 10. Slag likes food. If it had to choose between an Impossible Burger or an onion, which would it be? There's a canonical answer for this. So Slag doesn't just eat everything. Slag is kind of a psychic thing. It's a psychic creature. So the things that it wants to eat most are conscious beings. Anything that has sentience or intelligence, because Slag can tap into that, and that's like food for Slag. So an Impossible Burger is made out of basically chemicals and I guess maybe a bunch of different type parts from plants. I don't know, but it's probably made out of. There's probably all sorts of stuff in an Impossible Burger, but an onion is just one plant, and I think plants have a very low level of sentience, or a very low level of, I guess what you could call thought. It doesn't feel right to say that, awareness, consciousness, but they are living things. So Slag doesn't usually eat plants, or that's the last thing it'll eat, if it just needs to eat. But if Slag had to choose between an onion and an Impossible Burger, it would choose the onion, 10 times out of 10. Star Wars universe, it follows a Jedi named Flanks. Flanks is a fun name. What is Flanks like? Because when I hear the name Flanks, in some ways it sounds like a kind of space cowboy type. But maybe it could also be like is he human? Flanks. So long and flanks for all the fish. Yeah, I had to quit games. I think only getting an Xbox at a later age was actually worse than if I'd gotten it as a kid. Because like my parents expected me to have self-control on my own. I can actually relate to that. I didn't have video games growing up. So when I got to like college and I like lived with my friend who had an Xbox, I played his Xbox more than he did. And definitely the temptation was to go overboard. And you know, I think once you get it out of your system, you'll be all right. Like, I think there's something to that. But it's not always easy. And just like self-control in general with stuff that you didn't learn, so you didn't have to learn. I don't know. I go back and forth on this. Because I think if I had like just easy access to video games as a kid, I would have just spent so much time playing video games as a kid. But because I didn't, I did stuff like stop motion, and you know that built the foundation for a lot of, I don't know, what I do these days. So I think there's pros and cons. Honestly, I think the most important thing growing up, and when I think about like raising my own kids, I don't have kids, but when I think about potentially having kids, just teaching them how to use their imagination and fill their hours without depending on outside entertainment. I think that's healthy. Okay, this is a little sticky. Flanks, it's not human. He is an alien. You know that head that's entirely black, basically a useless part, that's him. Cool. Flanks kind of sounded like he kind of gave me alien vibes. If it wasn't a space cowboy, that was my guess. Was Slag originally a living being, like an alien and not a plant or fungus? I think Slag is like the closest thing to a demon that exists in like flesh form. At least that exists in the Void War universe. It's really this thing that exists, if you want to get into it, if you imagine like layers to reality, like say ghosts are in like a layer beyond what we can see, spirits, whatever, demons even, or like dreams, you know, visions are in a layer of reality. Like Slag kind of is this thing that found a way to break through a layer that it wasn't supposed to. So it's this psychic hive mind that's in our world, and it takes physical form, and it's consuming people. But it's not from here. It's not supposed to be here. It didn't evolve, you know, with like through genetic mutation and all that stuff. Okay. Oh, I just had an idea. I'm gonna email myself the link. All I'm closing out my camera here for a second. We can do better than that. Hey, Brick Animation, good to see ya. You'll have to pardon me for a second here. I'm just figured I should announce that I'm live on Instagram, and so I'm trying to do that. Copy link, and it's a bit of a multi-step process, but I'm almost done. It's pretty silly. Join. Okay, I think we're good. I think we did it. Just make sure it uploaded, posted. Sweet. Okay, let's hope this stays. I think we're golden. Maybe we're not. After the second movie, does that mean there's an entirely different ecosystem where Slag came from? Yeah, I think there's a, I think of it, okay, let me get myself here. Properties, okay. I'll answer your question in just a second, but I do want to show my face to the world. Thanks for your patience. Oh my God. All right. There is a, what I would call, kidding me? Sorry about this, guys. Just, that's what I get for trying to multitask. Oh, okay. Camera should be kicking in here. Man, that was challenging, physically and emotionally. After the second movie you're working on, do you plan to do another stuff with the Void War universe? I do plan on, so the plan is for the Void War to be a trilogy. Something pretty huge is going to happen at the end of this film, and the trilogy, the third movie, it's just going to be insane. Like, everything is going to escalate to places that you probably can't really imagine because you don't know what's necessarily going to happen in this one. But I am going to if I ever get to the end of this movie, the third movie is going to be me just going nuts, to be frank. And I'm really hoping that I get that opportunity. So that's that answer. CCC, such a big fan, you're the best. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thanks for watching my stuff and for tuning in. Like I was saying earlier, it means a lot to me when people express their admiration of the series and of my work, because it just makes it more human for me. It shows me that there are people who care and that the stories I'm telling, mean something to someone, and that's really sweet and meaningful. Brick Animation, you're working on that space animation script I told you about. It's cool. You and Lloyd are both working on kind of space-inspired animations. You're in the right place. I hope that seeing me at work can offer some inspiration and some motivation. I have so many things I need to do today and so many things I need to do this week. It's kind of bananas. But when you have these like projects you're working on, it really does come down to just trying to get a little bit farther on it every day. Make a little more progress. Even if it's just like on one aspect of the project. Because there's all these boring parts that need to be done, like, I don't know, sometimes it can get tiresome to edit the scripts or to record voices, do the learning, so much learning that has to be done. Maverick, why didn't humans just move to Mars or the moon? Also, what happened to the neighbor from season 1, the one with the blue helmet and guns? Yeah, you're talking about Russ. And everybody wants to know what happened to Russ. And I love that people want to know. Like, I honestly can't tell you how many times I get that question. It just comes up all the time. In some ways, I'm upset at myself for not having, told that story yet or animated it. I have written a script called The Book of Russ that actually says what happens to him. It jumps forward in time and you see where he's at and what's happened. And one day, maybe, I will get around to doing something with that. Like animation-wise, but that could be a fun project actually after the Hunger of Slag and before the third movie. That would be fun to do. I think I'll tentatively plan on that. Me to make a new OC. I'm an artist and you inspired me. That's so great. CCC. I wonder what that stands for. I wonder what kind of art do you do? Do you write or paint or make movies or do world building? If you want to share, I know we'd love to hear it. How come Slade has such a strong connection to the Slag? Gosh, you guys are asking good questions, and frankly, you're asking questions that I really don't want to answer publicly. But I'll give you an answer anyway, just not the full answer. So Slade is just not okay. So in the Void War universe, humans, there's human bodies and they're animated by human souls. Consciousness. There's a lot of consciousness-heavy science and science fiction. Slade's consciousness is not the same as yours or mine, let's say. It has different qualities and even a different origin, I would say. It's just different. And my plan is to explain some of that in the third movie. We're gonna just dip our toes in it in this one. And the original reason, when I first started making this whole universe in 2017, the idea was that Slade was exposed, but he was pulled from the cocoon a little bit early, so he was all right. And that's one of the things that I've retconned is that's not the reason that he didn't fully mutate. So there is a reason. It's a really good question, and we'll get more into it another time. Okay. I'm leaving now for a little excursion, but for the guy that was considering joining our Discord, I extend a warm moderator's welcome. Lovely. Well, enjoy your excursion, Smoke. Good to see you as always. Thanks for your duties in the Discord. I really appreciate all that you moderators do. And yeah, I've got to start including a Discord invite link. I'll try to do that at the end here. My hands are a little clayey at the moment. Or if anybody else who's in the Discord is able to and willing to send an invite link, that would be very handy. Can you show the progress of the monster? I can, yeah, I think so. So you've seen this, I assume, and maybe this is going to be like the head. There's going to be black fins kind of here, and there's going to be eyes. These are going to be eye stalks, and a big old orange eye there, an orange eye there, and then like tentacles on the edge. And I've also made the back, which is just the same in the front, so it'll be kind of like that. You have to use your imagination a little bit right now. And so what I'm doing right now is trying to create a skin mold so that I can make these large sheets of skin. Okay, come on, you silly goose. Large sheets of skin that I can drape over any parts I need to. Okay, there we go. And I'm kind of eyeballing it, spitballing. I think it's going to turn out pretty all right. Maybe one more, maybe a couple more veins. Burninator. Have you ever worked on a new character that pilots a giant mech suit like a Pacific Rim Jaeger, and he fuses with the mech suit due to being infected by slag, heavily infected due to heavy injuries? That's a really cool idea. There's slag canonically has merged with machinery before. It's rare, but it's possible. And so that sounds really badass, actually. A like Jaeger-sized mech suit that's infected with slag. That could be like a whole, like, Love, Death, and Robots episode. Huh. You got me thinking. So many good ideas. So little time to animate them. It would be cool to take that premise and just plug it into like an AI art generator. I should ask ChatGPT to try that, show me what it would look like a Jaeger infected with slag. That would be pretty cool. If you're following me on Instagram, I'll do that later, and I'll post it on my story, and you can see. Maverick, are you following me on Instagram? Though it would probably not happen. I had an animation concept for the Void War universe, which would be called "That's Why We Don't Fight Fire with Fire." That's all I will say. Huh. It's cool. I feel like if I'm just taking your title there and applying it to my own knowledge, that could be like the story of how humanity figured out they can't nuke slag, for example. Because maybe they tried to destroy a large infestation of slag using a nuclear bomb. And because slagic fields affect reality and and mess with machinery, mess with explosives, mess with artillery. They like redirected the blast, and it like killed, I don't know, thousands of people. And that led the Univirus, or Kyo, to innovate and come up with this new system where they use channelers and piercers to bring down the fields before bombing. I don't know, does that resonate with your vision? It's just where it goes for me. Who's your favorite character from the Void War universe? Oh, I really like Hux. Like I in a weird way, I identify with him. You know, he doesn't have any special abilities. He's like just a guy who lost. I don't identify with the fact that he like lost his whole family, but I do identify with like just being a regular guy. You know, who ends up in a rather remarkable situation. And I really like telling his story because he's put in this weird position where he has to make ethical decisions with working with, you know, this guy who's like kind of a demon. Like Slade is kind of demonic. And this young girl who's kind of naive and inexperienced, but turns out to be incredibly gifted in very mysterious ways. And Hux is just between the two of them. And he has to like kind of reconcile his feelings towards them, with them. I don't know, I think he's fun for me. Of course, I do love Dane. Dane, the comms guy, is a lot of fun. So, those are probably a few of my favorites. I don't know though, I love them all. They're my babies. Lucky Plush Productions, welcome. And anybody else who's new, welcome. The monster looks awesome. Thank you. Would the monster you are working on be in the front lines of the Slag battlefield? Definitely. Runners in general are known for being on the front lines. They just move so fast, and they do some damage. They often are, you know, they're very strong, so they can like tear machines apart. They can tear apart artillery and mechs if they get close enough. So they would definitely be on the front lines. In this movie, The Hunger of Slag, the whole city is going to be front lines. Like, everybody's going to be in the front lines all the time, which is why it's going to get kind of crazy. But also why I'm really excited about it. Brick Motion Studios, what's up, what's up? I don't know what to add next, like the man fusing with the mech due to the slag thing I mentioned. Yeah, the mech and slag thing sounds really cool. I don't think I'll be able to. God, it would be cool to have it like, to like tease that in the Hunger of Slag. Maybe I could have just a moment where some machinery is connected to slag. That's interesting. But yeah, you should look up Twisted Bricks on Instagram if you have Instagram. And follow me there. God, I've got to link my socials in the descriptions. So many things to remember. But I was just saying that I'll probably try to create an AI generated image of what that would look like, and I don't know, give you credit or mention your name or something. Maverick. My favorite character is the guy with the red beard. Oh yeah, the General Gatner, if we're getting technical. That name is never mentioned in the actual Lego Zombie Apocalypse, but it has been added posthumously. Brick Animation and Brick Motion Studios. You're making me dizzy seeing those two names next to each other. Okay, now I've got some like kind of veins here. I think the next thing to do is add some kind of bulbous stuff. Kind of like pores or eyes. I do have this is the screwdriver with like a little rubber cap on the end. And it is handy for making little indentations. So I think I'll just try to make some of those first. Probably don't want to go too deep with that. But that does add a nice little touch. Yeah. You know, it's always, you never want to overdo it. That's the tricky thing. Okay, I like that. But I do have these tools here that I should put to use somehow. I wonder. It's good for making little divots, little kind of channels, and I think that'll add a nice touch. Creates these little shavings. Okay, let's see. Oops. If you didn't see, what's up, Blundarg? Welcome. We are twins from another Mother Brick Motion Studios. Funny. If you didn't see, I included with the Omniflictor arm weapons for armor for the city engineers. An armor for the city engineers. It armed or tracked into the gun, into just the gun pieces that connects to the back armor. Well, that sounds cool. Have you ever thought about the slag coming from an alternate world, kind of like the Upside Down from Stranger Things? Yeah, I would actually say that that's like a good way to think about it. That slag kind of comes from a different realm. You know, that's the word I would use. A different realm. Okay, I don't like those divots, actually. I'm going to abort that mission. Alright, I'm going to try creating something that like kind of resembles scales. We will see how that turns out. I'm going to try to bring this camera a little bit closer so you guys can get a better sense. Mario, welcome, welcome. The stream has started an hour ago. What happened so far? So, basically I heated up this monster clay in the oven so that it's malleable. I created this kind of flat clay surface and I started adding these veins to it, and I'm going to use this, and I'm going to put like walls up on the side and use it as to make a plaster mold that I can use to create latex skin that I can put around this guy. I've already got the latex skin molds done for the head, And I'll show you guys actually. So you've seen these kind of weird looking heads. The mold itself is kind of cool. As you can see, it's pretty huge. But this is the mold that I made using, I created a clay model and then cast it in plaster and used that to create the face. So now I'm doing that with just skin in general. For those of you who have been here a while, I've heard me explain it quite a few times at this point. It's an interesting experiment because I'm trying to create a really cool, like really textured monster, but I also want it to resemble like the slag from the movies too, like almost to look like it's made out of clay. And considering that the molds themselves are made out of clay, it's just, you know, that helps, I think. Gosh, one thing I should probably do is create some Amazon affiliate links for these tools and stuff that I'm using and make a list. I'm always trying to find ways that can finance this film. Is that supposed realm how the slag communicate with each other without being connected to each other? Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to think of it. The hive mind kind of exists within that realm, and it does not follow the same rules as our realm. Happy Sunday, by the way, everyone. Hope you're having a nice day of rest. I'm not sure if what I'm doing is technically resting, but it is what I love. And besides, ain't no rest for the wicked. Rest for the wicked. Is the wizard from season 2 the first channeler psychic? Because if so, did Kevin Keogh take some of his genetic DNA and accidentally spread it out without knowing? So the wizard from season 2 is not the first channeler. Not even close. In my view, channelers have been around in some form or other for basically for a huge portion of humanity's existence. But they were just, you know, they just existed as like tribal shamans. And, you know, in the Middle Ages, they kind of emerged as wizards. And then in the distant future, they emerged as channeler, what the Void War calls channelers. So it's kind of this, I don't know, it's kind of taking elements of our own reality and adding another sci-fi layer to it. Are you going to use that skin on the legs, or will there be a separate? Yeah, I am going to use the skin on the legs. I'm hoping I can get away with using the skin on like a bunch of different parts by just like reusing the mold over and over again and cutting out different segments of it. I hope that will look good and that'll work. It's going to be really interesting to find out, that's for sure. And that's what I talk about in my latest video, is just like, you gotta take some risks even if you don't know how it's going to look in the end. You know, I really think I should bring this camera even lower if I can. A little bit closer. There we go. All right, I'm just gonna make an adjustment on my, oh wait, no, I can make that adjustment right here. Crop. Okay, sweet. I think that's kind of cool. Have you ever thought about, oops, give me a second. Have you ever thought about the humans find Bionicle and the Bionicle fights the Slag? Ain't no rest, ain't no rest for the Twisted. I like that. I like that. Ain't no rest for the Twisted. Thank you for that. It's gonna be in my head all day now. That's funny. So the Bionicle aspect of this whole thing, the apostles, these guys, there are 7 of them, kind of like Bionicle, incidentally. You know, I take inspiration from a lot of places, but 7 is also kind of like a holy number. So, and the apostles are kind of based on the, you know, there's the 7 deadly sins, but there's also the 7 holy virtues. And so the 7 apostles are each based on one of the virtues. Like I think like Keratin is based on like charity or chastity. Purian, I can't remember what he's based on. But they're all based on like the different virtues. And they were originally channelers, but Keo, using something called the Revelibus, which is a bizarre device, turned them into immortal bionic deities. So they were once human. And they do fight Slag quite effectively, I will add. Yeah, these live streams are really kind of lore central. You get a lot of the stuff that's in my head but may not have been written down yet. Do you allow people to recreate the characters from season 1 but with the parts that they have? Yeah, absolutely. Like, with all my heart, I encourage any kind of spin-off or recreation or like alternate history. I mean, I love anything like that is more than welcome. I'm not gonna, unless you literally take like the footage from my creations or from my movies and say I made this, I'm not gonna pursue like legal action. Come on. There was a remarkable thing that happened when I made the first season of the Lego Zombie Apocalypse, or not too long after it. There was a guy who basically line for line, he like created his own stop motion series and basically copied mine line for line. It was pretty trippy to see, actually. They were obviously pretty familiar with the series. I don't know what ever happened to that. So right now I'm just adding some, there's these like scale things, and I'm adding some height to them. Some height, some roundness. Just to take the texture itself a step further. Can you draw a smiley face on the skin? You know, that would be a pretty funny, like, kind of Easter egg deal. Maybe I'll find a way to make like a tiny smiley face that you only see if you're looking for it. If anybody in the chat just got here, welcome first of all to Twisted Bricks, where we do stop motion horror, monsters, aliens, hive mind stuff. Right now I'm making a skin mold for this guy. Gigantic stop motion puppet monster. What is a skin mold? It is going to be used to create a thin layer of skin that I can cut and apply over any part of the body I need to. Okay. I do think that looks pretty good. Time to do some more. I will say this is kind of like with stop motion. You want to get it right the first time so you don't have to do it again. So I'm really trying to be thoughtful here. Ugh. But sometimes the hand does slip. Can you guys think of any other, like, so we've got some veins, we've got some divots or holes, kind of like pores. Can you guys think of any other, like, features I could add on the skin to make it a little, like, spooky and organic? I would love some recommendations. What happened to the guy with robotic legs and a robotic arm that was lost and got replaced by a medieval century makeshift arm? That's our friend Joe. What happened to him? Something very interesting happened to him, and I can't quite tell you about it yet. But my God, is it interesting. What frame rate do you animate? I like animating on 5 frames per second. So I animate, I do like 5s. I animate at 15 frames per second. And I've been doing that for a long time, and I really like it. I like the way it looks. I like how it doesn't take a ridiculous amount of time to animate at 15 frames per second. I know 12 frames per second is pretty darn common too. A lot of people like animating, especially like if you're kind of new to animation, animating at 8 or 12 frames per second is good. So I would actually encourage you, if you're feeling brave, to bump up to 8 frames per second and see how that feels. Because a lot of like video players and video formats, they play at like 24 frames per second or at some multiple of that. So if you are animating at 8 frames per second or 12 frames per second, I don't know, it's just kind of an industry standard thing. But, you know, as I've learned how to animate, I've animated at all sorts of different frame rates. For a while I was animating at 18 frames per second, which is just kind of funny, honestly. I don't think anybody does that. add a face of infected onto the skin. That's a cool idea. Like it's a trace of one of the humans that's been like absorbed by the slag. Gosh. What an idea. What an idea. I don't know if I have the sculpting skill to do that. I'm a simple man with a simple mind and simple tools. I agree, classic Lego smiley face. Idea, what if Slag interrupted the frame rate and it's constantly changing? It's funny, you guys are like, you're locked in. I've thought about that, how like Slag could maybe be animated at maybe a faster frame rate. Or if the Slag was animated at a different frame rate, how freaky would that be? Especially if Slag was animated at twice the frame rate of like the rest of the crew, because it kind of gives you the feeling that like it's twice as fast as you are, as the main character, as the heroes are, and that could be like a lot of fun to experiment with. That is one thing I want to do more in this movie, is like experimental animation, like really like experimental lighting and animation and frame rates and all that stuff. I think that could be really cool to mess with. All right, I'm gonna try. We might get back to that smiley face thing, but I'm gonna try making some teeny tiny tendrils here and incorporating them into the mass, into the skin. There we go. Sometimes you don't need fancy tools. Idea, what if Slag interrupted? Captain Kilroy, welcome to the group. Giving this man some ideas. I know, we need a notary. We need somebody to take notes. So Kilroy, what I'm doing is creating a skin for this large runner, this giant runner, as we would say. I've created the kind of face head for it, but it does need skin on its body. And so that's what we're trying to do, is create a skin mold here. And once we're done, we will make a plaster mold using this clay sculpture. And then we will pour black liquid latex on that. Oh man, I just had an idea. Oh yeah. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I'm making that, you probably can't, but making some small divots. Just riffing over here. Trying silly new things. Seeing what sticks. Captain Kilroy, do you remember who was, there was somebody in the Discord, in the Twisted Bricks Discord, who was really into dinosaurs and dinosaur slag. And like, was that you? Or do you know who that was? I can't remember if it was like public conversations, but I swear there was somebody who was like who was really an advocate for like Velociraptor slag, basically. You know, I bet that was in the I think that was actually one of the, maybe it wasn't like a public thing, but like for a the monster design contest that we had. That's probably what it was. Slag dinosaur. Texturing, one of the many banes of working with clay. You know, it's a bane and it's a blessing. It's something I'm continuously learning how to do. Because it's one of those things where there's like levels to it. Like you look at some of the earlier slag monsters and they're very simple. There's very little texturing, but it gets a little more advanced over time. But I feel like I've only scratched the surface, honestly, of what can be achieved. Slagzilla. I do know you're the army men guy. Trust me. Don't you worry about that. I thought maybe you had a dinosaur phase, you know. But no, it was somebody else. For sure. Well, dinosaur guy, if you're out there, we love you and we want to know your identity. Slagzilla sounds dope as hell. Pardon my French. I would subscribe to Slagzilla. Dragons infected with slag, with the humans fused to the giant mech suit. Oh my god. That would be cool. You should blend in the larger tendrils to be recessed in the skin so they look like veins. Great recommendation, Assad. Blend in the larger tendrils. I really like that, because right now it just looks like snakes on top of like a pile of skin. That's a fantastic idea. And that's really what I want as well. I mean, that's kind of what I want to go, the look I want to create. So I'm going to try that next. Just got to figure out what the best tool for the job could be. Let me think here. Okay, I think this might work as a method. I'll try it on this outer one. It's kind of lower stakes here. I know I have something that's supposed to be like a smoothing agent, but honestly I have no idea how to use it. Now, this might serve the dual purpose of making the veins even smaller too, which would be slick. Bet you guys didn't know this would be a collaborative monster making activity. It's like almost like, oh, it's getting there. Oh man, I really wish I didn't have fingernails right now. A dinosaur phase. Now I want to try to have a slagified T-Rex. Huh. Are you getting inspiration from any other apocalyptic infections? If so, which ones? Actually, yeah. You guys ever see the movie 9? 9 is a crazy cool movie. It's like kind of Pixar animation style, but it's really dark. It's not a Pixar film. And it takes place in an apocalyptic setting where there are these like machines, like death machines, and these like, it's just like battle for the human soul. I mean, it's really something. Like humans can't survive, but they manage to like, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but it's a really cool apocalyptic movie. 9, it's just the number 9. I think it came out on 9909. That was like their whole thing. They had fun with it. Dang, Assad, thank you for that. Use heat gun or blow dryer lightly and then use a small spatula shape. Do you do like clay stuff or like clay modeling stuff? I mean, you must have some background here. When you say small spatula shape, yeah, I think I know what you're saying here. And I think I might have like a perfect tool for that. Just gotta think about where I have it. Where would that be? Give me 1 second here. 1 second. All right, I'm still here. I'm just trying to think of where this thing I'm looking for is, this tool that Assad recommended. What's up, Ninja Boy Adam? Hope you're doing good. Oh, snap. Love to set up a voice chat one morning in your server one day. That would be good. It's been a while since we did a voice chat. We did one. When did we do it? It was like a live stream related thing. Okay. Now we might be in business. That might work. Just gonna have to give me a second here. Man, that is not, it's annoying. I feel like I have the perfect tool out there. But maybe there's some Lego piece that would work well. wonder if that would do it. So I'm looking for like a small spatula type piece. A medieval channeler who get infected with slag. So a slag monster can do channeler things. Yeah, and I mean that's like that's actually a thing in the Void War universe. Infected channelers are a really big problem. No, that's not what I want. Because if a channeler gets infected, they are gonna have like pretty powerful abilities, and it's not good. I think before I get my blow dryer and try what Assad was suggesting, I've done a bit of claymation, but I've also used brick separator. Interesting. I do have one of those right here. Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna think on that, on the right tool for the job. But I appreciate your insights. It's actually really handy advice. All right, I'm noticing that we've got some good like scaly looking things here. I think the heat gun or the blow dryer is going to do a good job of like bringing those down a bit too, which would be a plus. I think I want to create some kind of mounds just to give it a bit more texture. Might not look really good right away, but I think it'll be a nice touch later on. You know, don't want to make it too chaotic, I guess, but we'll play it by ear. I work with YouTuber, took inspiration from you, Twisted Bricks, with clay animation. That's really cool. What's their channel, if you don't mind me asking? It'd be cool to take a peek. Why are channelers called channelers? So I don't know if you've heard of the term like channeling. Some people claim that like a person can channel spirits from the dead, for example. Like they can themselves be a channel through which spirits can communicate, or they can channel something, like a river channels water. So the idea behind channelers is that they are channeling energy from the astral realm. So there's the physical world, but the physical world is connected to a place called the astral realm. And this astral realm is truly, it's kind of like the source of energy in our own world, but it's also a place of like infinite energy. So channelers can tap, the idea is that channelers can tap into that infinite energy, and they can use it for creative purposes, destructive purposes. And it also is very effective against slag, because slag, you know, kind of comes from the astral realm. So it's in some ways that's their way to fight fire with fire. Did you keep the original Lego Kevin robot intact? That's a good question. I think he's around here somewhere. You know, I really should keep, like, it would be cool to keep a display of the original group together. I actually sold, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I sold a lot of the original characters that were used in the animation way back when I was like making Gray Horizons to a super fan, and I created like a really cool display for those. And I was very grateful because it wasn't, you know, I didn't sell them for cheap. You know, it was a pretty reasonable price. But they were, you know, for a big fan of the show, you know, it's a good collector's item, I suppose. Okay, I'm gonna make one more, I think, patch of scales before applying that heat gun and trying to bring down these veins. Maybe right along here would be good. Kevin was my favorite character. Yeah, Kevin was a fun character. He was really fun to develop over time. Because he had quite a character arc. The channels are Guardian Brick Studios and Smithy Bricks Ninjago. They both do clay animations. I'm gonna have to check those out. Smithy Bricks sounds familiar for some reason. My version of Kevin is a mix between Slade's experience and battle levels, and Kevin's body as well as his strength. That sounds awesome. Slade Kevin. Slevin? Or Cade? What's up, Jacob? Yes. Thanks for subbing. I appreciate that. Welcome to the live stream where we are making monster skin. Or at least we're trying our best. That's all we can do. I created a character based off Kevin. He's a robotic military weapon, and he has a chainsaw as a weapon and a laser gun. Chainsaw and laser guns is a great combo. That's basically what Warhammer 40,000 is all about, chainsaws and laser guns. Although I guess technically they're chain swords. A music video. Check it out, please. Brick Animation, can you tell us anything about this music video? Like, what's the song? What's the footage? I actually have been hired to create a Lego music video, or a stop motion, I should say, animated music video for a local band out here. And I'm really excited about. I think it's actually going to be a very fun and funny project. They're the Moon Cats. If you like kind of bluegrass, like, yeah, bluegrass doesn't feel like it really, alternative folk maybe, but check out the Moon Cats. They're a North Dakota band, and they are a lot of fun. It's a very cool gang of dudes. All right, we've got some texturing done there. Just heard a car screeching out on the street. Hopefully they're good. called Buried in the Shadows. It's just a picture. I gotcha. It's like an acronym for Sentient Artificial Intelligence Bot. SABE. I want to copy the only aspects of a robot. Cool. Cool stuff, guys. Who doesn't love a good robot, too? Okay, I think it's time to try this this method that Assad recommended. Just thinking about the tool to use, the tool for the best tool for the job. Got an Allen wrench that I'm almost wondering if that would be the best. You know, actually though. Nope. All right, I think this little guy is going to be my friend. So I'm going to get my blow dryer. This might get a little noisy. We'll see. Jacob, yes, thanks for stopping by. Bye. How do I join Discord since you don't have a link that is listed with the others? All right, it's a great point. I'm going to pull up a Discord link right now. So if any of you want to join the Twisted Bricks Discord, you can do that. So let's see. That's not it. Let's go to oops. Some excitement. Twisted Bricks. Let's go to the general one. Create invite. All right, I got a Discord link there for you guys. So if you want to join the Discord, there you go. Okay. Already joined. Brick's cord. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, step 1, acquire blow dryer. Step 2, untangle this mess. And step 3, find a place to plug it in, which you'd think would be simpler. But I think I'll just have to unplug my phone for now. It's pretty charged though at this point. Oh my God. interesting. Just realized I have my hot glue gun here plugged in, but I don't think I'm going to get to a point where I can even use it during this stream, so. Okay. Twisted Bricks, you gotta go now for good. Good seeing you. Everyone, hope to chat soon. I'll be around in your server. All right. Good to see you, Adam. Thanks for stopping by as always. Okay. This could be kind of loud, so if you're wearing headphones, you might want to turn them down. Setting to 100%. All right, I don't know if you guys can see, but it's getting a little bit glossy here. The heat is working its magic. But my hands are probably not the best tool for the job here. No, that's not dry. You know, in some ways it works if there's like fingerprint marks, because it kind of makes it look more like clay anyway. All right, it is looking more like a vein, I think. So we're getting somewhere. Are we getting where we want to go? That's the question. All right. Setting volume to 100% equals death. Secret Among Us character. Oh my god, it would truly be Among Us. Gosh, why is I gotta make that easier to grip? Shout out to Assad for recommending this. Taking these veins and making them more, can't remember the word, embedded. Making them look like they're enmeshed in the skin and they're not just snakes on the outside. It's a good call. Oh, every now and then I feel like it's like, yeah, that's good. And then my fingernails kind of catch it. Which is kind of annoying. Happy it worked out. And recessed. Recessed is the word. Thanks for sticking around and watching, Assad. I appreciate it. And yes, look, we want the veins to look more recessed into the skin. Yeah, and I feel like I'm figuring this technique out as I go, and I think this tool is working pretty well for the job. It's maybe not the best tool, but maybe it is. Gotta consider that possibility. This is great because I think with the blow gun, the blow dryer, once I've figured this out, I'll blow dry it and maybe use some kind of something to smooth it all out. I don't know if a sponge, or maybe I just blow dry it until it's hot and melts a little bit and that'll smooth it out. We're certainly going to find out. All right, blow dryer's coming back on. Do I allow people to send images in Discord general? I think so. Pretty sure. What would it take for an opposing infection to infect slag? That's a fun question. So slag infects consciousness. That's kind of its thing. So I would say, you know, in some cases where people are able to resist infection, they have a very, oh, that's ugly. Very powerful will, like willpower or very powerful consciousness. And so if you had some kind of infection that gives you a very powerful will, or some kind of infection that grants sentience at a high degree, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Okay, it's looking decent. Theoretically. The will to consume. Yeah, that's good. You know, in my headcanon, sometimes I've thought like maybe slag is like the god of hunger or something. of consumption. And so if there's something else out there that's very, very hungry, it would be definitely be a good contestant against Slag. Okay, that works kind of effectively, actually. Learning all about the properties of clay. "12 out of 10 animations, gotta go." Have a good one, Burnator22. Thanks for being around. I'm probably gonna wrap this up pretty soon here myself. Oh, nice. Slade Cave. Oh, sweet. I want to check that out. Maverick. Space Boy. Hey, that's pretty sweet. Dang, I wonder if can you guys see that? Maybe not quite, but I've got Cade Slevin here. That's cool. I like the color scheme. The red and kind of gunmetal is a good look. All right. On to the next one. I feel like part of this recessing process is undoing my earlier work, but you know, it's just the way the clay crumbles sometimes. Heck yeah, he has a gun and a giant mace. Yeah, I saw that. That's cool. Thermodynamics should help with that. I see what you're saying. The heat. What should that help with? Was that I can't remember what I was talking about actually when you said that. Using this like round tip is actually really helping with the smoothing process, I gotta say. Have a good one, Brick Animation. Thanks for being around, as always. question, will Slade have a mental breakdown once he's all that stuff? Yeah, I feel like Slade, that's a good question. He's kind of due a mental breakdown, isn't he? You can see the difference between these veins here and these here. It's maybe not super obvious right now, but I think it will be eventually, once they're all smoothed out. Whew, that's gonna take some time. If you ever thought about having Bionicle fight the Slag. So actually, I mean, in the Hunger of Slag, there's going to be 3 or 5 technically apostles who make an appearance. And the apostles are kind of like, I mean, they are essentially Bionicles. They're very Bionicle-esque. And they will be fighting the Slag, and it's going to be epic. They're going to be fighting like side by side with humans too. All right, I think I'm going to do one more round of the blow dryer and smoothing, and then it's going to be time to wrap up this live stream. How long have we been going? Check YouTube. Scheduled for 7:40. Started at like 7:40 or something. Dang, is that real? We have not been going for that long. No, of course not. I don't know, there's some way to figure out when we started this, but I can't remember what it is. I got things to do. Gosh, maybe I should heat up this thing and just use that instead of heating up the whole thing. That never even occurred to me. It just occurred to me now when I'm holding it and it's quite hot. Just for that short burst. Yeah, Bionicle, I'm not gonna lie to you. Being a kid in the age of Bionicle was amazing. I had the comics and everything. I was so into Bionicle. Totally baked into my system. If you do that, it will take longer to heat the clay and will do a cold heat, like when you cold solder. Dang, you're no stranger to crafting. The last time I soldered anything was like ninth grade in school. But I actually do need to figure out I think I probably should get a soldering kit of some kind, or this is like a light that I'm supposed to like use a 3-volt something or other to light it, and in the instructions it said something about soldering, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. The power of thermodynamics. So it sounds like you're recommending the blow dryer is really the way to go to heat it more thoroughly throughout. Longer to heat the clay. Cold heat, that's interesting. You know what? I'm gonna be right back in a second. I wanna see. All right, I'm gonna just pop out for 1 second. I'm gonna come back in 2 shakes. All right, I'm back. 7 of you are still here. Thanks for waiting. Okay, let's get on to. We're like halfway through this whole smoothing process. You know, technically, we're more than halfway. Like I think it was Ralph Waldo Emerson who said, just getting started is over half the thing. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, because starting things is hard. It's way easier to keep doing something than it is to start something. I do believe that to be the case. I think soldering is a great thing to learn. Custom lighting would be insane for the Void War 2. What is your Lego turret design? Yeah. Oh, I'm planning on really upping. You know, I want to up the game with every aspect of this film, but lighting is definitely one of them. I've got some pretty cool lights from brickstuff.com, and I don't know, I think I'll be able to create some pretty cool effects with that. Yeah, and I do want to expand my toolkit, like my artistic toolkit. And I think, you know, part of that is learning all these different aspects of crafting, such as soldering, like 3D sculpting and 3D printing, all that kind of stuff. Please do the smiley before I'm gone. Gosh, I don't know if I can promise that. How about this? Oh, it's kind of hard to see. No, I can't do that right now. But if you join me next week, maybe. Sorry, bud. Sorry about that. I can maybe do a... Wait a second. All right. I'm going to do an honorary smiley here. You see these two, or you see all these like little dots? There you go. It's upside down, of course, but that is a smiling face. So you're very welcome. I do aim to please. Yay! Oh, that's funny. We'll see what becomes of it. Okay, you guys, not gonna lie, I think that's it for today. Probably do some more later when I'm not streaming. Maybe I'll stream on TikTok or something. That's really something I should do. Or so the internet tells me. At some point I might just blast this with a heat gun to get it all nice and smooth. I don't know if that'll work, but you know. Yeah, I don't want to turn it all into a puddle though. Probably gotta do some internet research. You can see we've come a long way in like smoothing these out, especially compared to these that have not been smoothed out. So that's gonna be it for today. Thank you all for joining me. I think there's only like 5 of you here right now, but we've had how many? We've had over 200 viewers total, so that's kind of cool. Have a great day, everyone. And I will catch you next time. Bye, Brick Motion Studios. Bye, Assad, if you're still there. Thanks for the advice. I appreciate it. Maverick and Don't Stop Motion Studios, Brick Animation, all you guys. Appreciate your company. I'm not from the South. I appreciate. I can use my full words.